We need to talk. You and me right now, okay?
Upstairs. Nobody leaves the premises until we figure out how to fix this fucking calamity!
I'll be back in a minute.
There was something I liked very much about Charlie dying for something he didn't believe in. So 53 days ago, before Pruitt took over, Charlie would have understood Don's position completely, never allowed what happened with the website to happen. Charlie would have been fighting his fights, but he would have been on the other side. He would have been wearing a different uniform. But this is a different Charlie now, who is just trying to keep the place together and protect it from this huge threat, and his staff, because he was the one who trained them, is pushing back against him. And the idea that this is what he's become and these are the fights that he's fighting now got to him, and he collapses. I entertained the possibility of it being someone else who dies, and I myself then would get death threats from people on the writing staff. If I said, well, how about if Will and Mackenzie get married and she walks outside and gets hit by a bus? And everybody wanted to kill me. And so it was this, and of course this seems right.
You need to disable the app until we can figure this out, because it's a little not what we do.
What's not what you do?
Giving deranged people with access to semi-automatic weapons the locations of their targets.
In the 52 days that Will's been in jail, this place has come apart. It's become something that the people who work there and the people who built it aren't proud of anymore. They're all fighters. It's very much in Sloane's character to not take this lying down. She's really offended by this app.
People don't read this with the expectation of it being true.
Excuse me?
Everyone...
People don't have an expectation that what they're reading is true?
From time to time on the show, we will take an actual interview that occurred and try to change as little of it as we can. And in this case, there was an interview several years ago. Jimmy Kimmel was substituting in for Larry King on Larry King's CNN show. And Larry King's guest was a woman who worked for Gawker, and she was trying to defend an app called Gawker Stalker. And the answers that our guy, who's substituting in for her, is at times word for word saying what this woman said to Jimmy Kimmel on that Larry King segment. But that interview that Sloane conducts, it's not all word for word by any means, but as much of it as I could do.
You're gonna be locked in a cage now, and it's not a natural thing. You'll be fine.
Will was gonna have to go to jail to take this to its logical conclusion. What I liked about Will being in jail, and for much longer than anyone anticipated, was the conversation with a man who's identified in the script only as cellmate, which we discover at the end of the episode was a person that was never there.
And that's your father there next to you?
Yeah.
That's a wholesome picture. Looks like it came with the frame.
We never saw Will really react to the father dying. Well, here it was about a year later. It was Will's father that Will was fighting with after the 52 days now of isolation in a cage.
You were just saying that to the fatheads, there's no difference between Yale and Harvard, but to the refined palate of the Eastern elite, the
Jesus, I'm from Nebraska.
I think that one of the conflicts that I've felt in America is this feeling of, you think you're so much better than I am. The elites. There's the demonizing of intelligence, or what feels like a massive group inferiority complex on the part of millions and millions of people. And that felt like the conflict between Will and his father. So I thought, stick them both in this cage and see what happens. And to me, it was kind of heartbreaking that Will says goodbye to his father on the same night that a father figure dies without him knowing it.
The travel office transferred me to talent relations, who transferred me to Tess, who said, it's so romantic that you guys are on a stakeout together in the Moscow airport. You're his destiny. I said, Tess, we were supposed to have tickets waiting to Havana.
When we all started in the writer's room at the beginning of the season, everybody wanted to talk about how Jim and Maggie are going to get together. And I was actually the one saying, you know, do they have to get together? Maybe that's not what happens. And everyone reminded me that a promise was made to the audience in the pilot episode when Mackenzie says to